reason. If you're watching this, I'm guessing you've been carrying too much for too long. So I guess we'll start there. My name is Joda Morrison, and this is The Work. This is my YouTube channel. This is a space where, I want to build builders. I want to give people the tools, so they can be the best version of themselves. I'm not an internet guru. I'm not Mr. Fix-It. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here for parasocial relationships. I'm just here to be real about the stuff that I've been through and give y'all the tools, my experiences, my thoughts, my perspectives, in hopes that they can help someone who's maybe going through some stuff similar to what I've been through, or maybe you don't have a blueprint for how to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. That's okay. And I'm not going to claim that I'm perfect. I'm not going to claim that I'm this great healed person. No. This is healing in real time. But I do think people need to see this. And I do think the internet is lacking for, male voices who are willing to show healing in real time. Because a lot of the people you see are either on the other side, they're spouting off about this or that, and I think they're building the wrong things. So this is my channel. These are my thoughts, my perspectives. If you don't like it, you don't vibe with it, that's cool. Just click dislike and keep it moving. But yeah, men are angry for a reason. Let's get into it. So to start off, I want to... Damn, camera keeps shaking. So to start, I want to get... I want to reframe anger. It's something that most men deal with. I'm sure most women deal with it too. But again, I can only speak to the straight heterosexual male experience. So that's what I'm going to speak on. I'm not going to pretend like I'm somebody I'm not. Anger, I don't think is a weakness. I don't think it's a strength. Nor do I think it's good. Or do I think it's bad. I think anger is biological. Our society... Sorry, this camera keeps shaking. Let me try to lock it down with something. Tools, what you know about that? I think anger is biological. Because, our society and the technology that we have has greatly outpaced our bodies and our minds' ability to evolve. Back in the hunter-gatherer days, typically, men were the ones who would go out and we would be the hunters. We would go out, we would, hunt saber cats, we would hunt woolly mammoths, we would hunt deer, whatever animals were around in that time, we were hunting them. We were bringing them back so the tribe could eat, so we'd have food. And anger comes from a time where we needed that rage and that fury to survive. Because it was a world of kill or be killed. It's like if you're out there on the, the Great Plains of, wherever you are in prehistory, you needed that anger to survive. If a saber cat pulled up on you and you weren't, ready to fight, you were going to die. And we aren't that biologically different from when we were back then. We just live in a society where violence is not acceptable. And that's a good thing. I hate violence. I despise it. I don't like it. I get that it's necessary sometimes. If someone's attacking you and they're trying to take you out of here, you need to be willing to defend yourself and stand up for yourself. I don't condone violence, but I do condone, you got to stand up for yourself. Don't let people treat you however, they want to treat you. Your anger is your, emotional bodyguard. It loves you. It's a thing that comes up when you've been violated. When your emotions have been violated, when maybe your ego's been violated, when you don't understand, It's like the anger's not the problem. It's how you're taught to read it and how you're taught to react to it. Because most men are taught to either suppress it and push it down and just not deal with it. And that leads to it festering and it growing. And it turns you into a pressure cooker to where it's going to come out and it's going to feel good because it's an emotional release that you've needed, you know? Or you see it modeled poorly, and you see it, in explosive, like, male role models, you see it in explosive male role models. You see it in, negative father figures, people who weren't taught to deal with their anger and their emotions in a way that was healthy. And when you live in that cycle, whether or not you want to, you're likely going to perpetuate it unless you are given tools, unless you're given a different example, or unless, you're in therapy from a young age and you're taught to deal with these things in ways that are healthier than what's modeled. So, in getting on to the whole, I've got my little outline here, so if you see me looking down or you see me holding this piece of paper, I don't want to be that dude who's writing scripts and memorizing a bunch of stuff. I like keeping it real and just kind of, I have bullet points and I like going off the cuff. That's just how I do things. So if you see me looking down, I don't want weird comments or anything, but I digress. Like I was saying, no map, no father, no structure. You're going to make sense of what you were given. And I can say that because I've lived it. You see a broken father figure leading you with that anger and that rage. You're going to pick up on that, and you're going to emulate that because it's all you were given and you were doing the best with what's given. And I'm not making excuses. You are responsible for your actions. If you blow up at somebody and you hurt them emotionally, physically, you are responsible for your actions. But you're also responsible for your healing. No one can do this for you but you. A lot of men want to put it on women, on the ladies to, fix us, or be like, oh, if I just get this girl, like, my life will be better and I'll be fixed. Nah. You got to be the one to sit with the parts of yourself that you don't like, that you don't want to look at. You got to have the humility. You got to have the discipline. And you got to have the willingness to work on yourself. To sit with the parts of yourself that you don't like, so that you can be the best version of yourself that you want to be, Because here's the thing. When you work on yourself, when you get yourself together, when you master your anger, when you master yourself, when you master, when you feel that way, having a healthy outlet, having tools and healthy places to put your emotions, everything you want is going to come in abundance. Let's segue into some tools that you can use, and these are things that I personally use in my life, every day or every week. Number one is therapy. Therapy is so important. And you hear people spouting off I'm not going to be one of these people that's just go to therapy. It's great. Therapy is one of the hardest things that you can do. And not a lot of people, I feel know how to do therapy right. Finding the right therapist is a process. You're probably not going to vibe with the first person that you match with, and you got to decide, what do I value? You need someone who's real, and you need someone who's going to hold you accountable to your feelings. But therapy is a space where you can have an hour a week to just show up and be real with somebody. You had a hard week, your boss is being a dick at work, or maybe you have some jackass in your life who's just harassing you and making your life miserable. Maybe you got some stupid neighbor who's just doing stuff that's just pissing you off, You can't let those feelings fester, because that's how they grow into something bigger, and that's when you end up lashing out at people. That's when you end up, that's when the anger becomes a problem, is when you don't deal with it in a way that's healthy, So going to therapy, showing up with somebody, being real, that's putting in the work for yourself, because your therapist is going to give you tools. It's like therapy is a tool, yes, but it's a place where you acquire more tools from a professional who can look at your brain on a mechanical level. They can look at your life from a technician point of view, and they can, help you figure out why you are the way that you are, Go when you're in a good place. Go when you're in a bad place, when you're in crisis, when you're in a neutral place. Because when you're not in a crisis, you're able to work on parts of yourself that you can't work on when you're in 911 mode. So go to therapy. There's resources out there that you can find that will connect you with people. There's affordable ways that you can get therapy. you deserve it. You deserve to show up for yourself like that. Another tool I'm going to give you. I forget if I mentioned this already, but men are physical beings, you know. You see this stereotype, and I don't even know if it's really a stereotype, more than just a fact, but like the fact is most people love sex, but there is that stereotype with men of like, oh, men just want sex. Sex is awesome. Who doesn't love it? You know, I get that there's a whole spectrum of sexuality and asexuality, and you know, I'm not here to get into that, but you need that physical release because, you know, you have all this pent up energy and you need to do something with it. Exercise is a great way to do that. And, you know, when you hear exercise, a lot of people automatically jump to like, oh, I got to get a gym membership. I got to go get the 6-pack. I got to go do this, all this stuff. You don't. I'm not talking about exercise. Just move your body, you know, get up for 15 minutes a day and just go for like a nice walk, you know, move your body a little bit. You ain't got to be Superman. No one's asking you to run a 7-minute mile. You know, maybe for the first 10 minutes of your day, just get out of bed. For the first 10 minutes, just do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, go for a walk, and then come home, have your coffee, and have your breakfast. That's enough. But you just need a release to get that physical energy out of you, because that is how anger, when it's unmanaged, when you push it down, that's how it manifests. And again, speaking from experience. Last tool I'm going to give you. Sitting with yourself in silence, sitting with yourself in the calm, and getting in touch with the core of who you are. Very valuable. You know, in these calm moments, you know, maybe you're sitting in your truck. Maybe you're sitting at home after a long day of work. Maybe you're driving home from work and you don't feel like listening to music. Or even if you're driving home from work, make it a habit. Turn the music off. Just sit and listen for a little bit. Ask yourself, you know, am I being the best version of myself? Am I, you know, how am I feeling today? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling happy? Where are these feelings coming from? How can I label them? Where are they coming from? What are they doing? That's how you get in touch with yourself and you develop emotional intelligence. That's how you get in with the pieces of yourself that you need to be communicating with so you can be a healthy person. You know? And again, it's another tool. Asking yourself questions. I do it all the time. That's, you know, if you've been through something hard, you know, if you're feeling up for it, maybe take 10 minutes and just dig in with that. Start small, you know? It's not just jump in and do everything all at once. It's a process. Healing is a process, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of work, but it's worth it. You'll be a lot calmer. You'll be a lot more at peace. And then one more thing before I close out today. Remember, your anger is biological. You're responsible for your actions, and you're responsible for your healing. Men are angry for a reason. It was because we evolved to be in a time when we needed that anger to survive. And now we need a place to put that anger. So I want you to take these tools. I want you to take this message. I want you to take exercise. I want you to take therapy. I want you to take real conversations. I want you to take questions with yourself. And I want you to apply those to your life because I want to see you become the best version of you that you can be. And if my story, if my experiences and my perspective and my thoughts, the things that I've done to survive can help you, I want them to do that. I want to see, you know, a world where better men are built consistently. And if you resonate with that, I'm going to invite you to subscribe, hit the little like button, hit the notification bell, and come kick it. I'm going to be uploading every week. This is just the beginning. We're going to get into a lot more. I'm going to shoot for every Sunday. I'm going to upload one of these more long form videos. I've got TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts, so be sure to check me out there as well so you can keep up with everything. And then I might do like one shorter YouTube video on like a subtopic. Like I might give y'all some exercises that you can start with, just if, you know, because not everyone knows where to begin with that. I'm going to give you some, you know, free tips for how to do that. But yeah, I'm Jonah Morrison. This is The Work. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.